Very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashington Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at headlines first. Parliamentary debate on the vote on account commences. Cabinet approves a proposal to go ahead with a simple tax system. News in detail. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, under the capacity of the Minister of Finance, presented the vote on account to the Parliament today with a sum of 1,900 billion rupees to cover the state expenses for the last quarter of the year.
විශ්ව වර්ෂයේ සැප්තැම්බර් සිට දෙසැම්බර් දක්වා වූ මාස 4 කාලය සඳහා රජයේ වෙළඳ දරන්න රුපියල් බිලියන 1900ක් වෙන් කරගන්න සහ ඒ වෙනුවෙන් රුපියල් බිලියන 1300ක ණය සීමාවක් අනුමත කරගන්න තමයි මේ පරිපූර්ණ ඇස්ටිමේන්තු ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ. මෙම සියලු පරිපූර්ණ ඇස්ටිමේන්තු 2020 වර්ෂය සඳහා විසර්ජන පනක් මගින් අපි ඉදිරියේදී ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා. 2020 පළමු මාස 8 තුල රාජ්‍ය ආදායම රුපියල් බිලියන 910ක් පමණ ලබා ගන්නු ඇතැයි අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. පළමු මාස 8 තුල රජයේ සේවකයන්ගේ පඩිනඩි සඳහා රුපියල් බිලියන 521ක් පමණ වැය වුණා. ඒ අතරින් පොලි ගෙවීම් සඳහා රුපියල් බිලියන 675ක් වැය කරන අතර රජයේ සාධාරණ ධාරා වෙනත් සංක්‍රම ග්‍රාම සඳහා රුපියල් බිලියන 390ක් පමණ වැය වෙනවා. ඒ අතරම 2019 වර්ෂයේ සිට නොගෙවූ බිල්පත් ලියවීම සඳහාද විශාල මුදලක් ගෙවීමට සිදු වෙනවා. දේශීය ඉදිකිරීම් කර්මාන්ත ශාලා කර්මාන්තවලට ඖෂධ සමාගම් වලට පොහොර සමාගම් වලට බිල්පත් ගෙවලා තිබුණේ නැහැ. ඒ අනුව 2019 නොපිය වූ බිල්පත් රුපියල් බිලියන 242ක්. ඒ කියන්නේ දල ජාතික නිෂ්පාදනයේ 2.3%කට වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ අවුරුද්දේ අපිට දරා ගන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. 2019 දී අයවැය හිඟය 6.8% කියලා වාර්තා වුණාට ඇත්තටම අයවැය හිඟ නොගිය බිල්පත් එක්ක 9%ට වඩා වැඩි අගයක් ගන්නවා. මේ සියල්ල නිසා ආර්ථිකයේ කටයුතු අඩාල වෙලා තිබුණා. මේ අනුව රජයේ වියදම් යම් ප්‍රමාණයකට කළමනාකරණය කරමින් පවතින අතර ඉදිරියේදී ඉහළ ආර්ථික වර්ධන අනුපාතයක් සමග රජයේ අයවැය අඩු කිරීමට පියවර ගනිමින් සිටිනවා. පසුගිය කාලය තුළ මුළු ණය කළඹෙන් හරි අඩක් විදේශීය ණය වලින් සමන්විත වුණා. මෙම තත්ත්වයේ තුල රුපියල් බිලියන 9කට ආසන්න සියලුම ණය නැවත සමාලෝචනය කරන්න රජය තීරණය කළා. මේ තුල සමහර ව්‍යාපෘති කියනවා දේශීය කොන්ත්‍රාත්කරුවන්ගෙන් අඩු මිලට ඉටු කරගන්න තිබුණා. සමහර ව්‍යාපෘති වල ඇත්තටම සමාජීය ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිලාභයක් නැහැ. ව්‍යාපෘති ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම නතර කරනවා කියලා මින් අදහස් කරන්නේ නැහැ. අපි මේදී ණය වෙනුවට ආයෝජන වර්ධනයක් කරන්න මූලිකවම කටයුතු කරනවා. මේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය තුලින් රජයේ වැය බාර අවම කරලා ආර්ථිකයේ වර්ධනය වෙන්න අපිට සලස්වන්න පුළුවන් කියලා අපේ විශ්වාසයයි.
In the meantime, the Samagijana Balawegya parliamentarian Partli Champika Ranawaka states that the income of the country for this year will be sufficient only to settle the interest of the loans, and he further blamed the government, claiming that the tax cut policies of the current government has caused the reduction of the state income. When the proposed vote on account was taken for debate in the parliament today, Samagijana Balawegya parliamentarian Partli Champika Ranawaka posed scathing criticism on the government. He states that the interest of the loans that we have to pay this year is nearly 1 trillion and that the entire state income will have to be spent on that. He further states that the income of the country during the good governance tenure was nearly 2,000 billion rupees and that it has been reduced to 1,000 billion rupees due to the tax reductions of the current government. He states that the reduction of the growth rates is due to these policies of the government, which he calls as ineffective, and that COVID-19 is not the reason for it. Moreover, he stresses that the growth rate of the economy of the country during the first 3 months is -1.6. In response, State Minister for Finance, Capital Market and State Enterprise Reforms Ajit Niwad Cabral states that Sri Lanka's per capita gross domestic product had dropped by $227 in 2019, and this marked the first such decline in 20 years. Speaking further, he also added that the current government have managed the COVID-19 situation well, and despite this huge challenge, it will continue to take the economy on a path of development. In the meantime, Committee on Parliamentary Business consisting of 26 members of Parliament was announced by the Speaker Mahinda Yapa in Parliament this morning. According to the standing orders of Parliament, Speaker Mahinda Yapa is the chairperson and Deputy Speaker Ranjit Simbalapitiya, Deputy Chairperson of Committees Angajan Ramanathan, Leader of the House and Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, Leader of the Opposition Sajid Premadasa, Chief Government Whip and Minister Johnston Fernando, Chief Opposition Whip Lakshman Kirialla were announced as members of the committee. In addition, Chamal Rajapaksa, Nimal Siripala de Silva, Professor G.L. Pires, Douglas Devananda, Dallas Arahaperuma, Vimal Veerawansa, Mahinda Amravira, Vasudeva Nanaikara, Prasanna Ranatunga, Mahinda Samarasinghe, Gayantha Karunatilaka, Rauf Hakim, Anurukumar Dissanayaka, Dilan Pereira, Rishad Badiruddin, Ranjit Madhuma Bandara, Mano Ganeshan, M.A. Sumandiran and Ali Sabri Rahim are the other members. Moreover, State Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Affairs, Rear Admiral Sarath Veerasekara expressed views on the contentious statement made by MP C.V. Vigneswaran during the first sitting of the new Parliament.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, on the inaugural day of the Parliament, one party leader went out of track and he mentioned about self-determination and supremacy of the Tamil language. This August Assembly is not a place to decide whether one language is superior than the other language. But we can sympathize with him, thinking that he is clueless about the true history of our mother Lanka. He is asking self-determination to fulfill the Tamil aspirations of the Tamil people. Now, if the self-determination given to the north to fulfill the aspiration of the Tamil living in the north, what about the Tamil living in the south? There are more than 50% of the Tamil people are living in the south among the Sinhalese and the Muslims. If the self-determination given to the north to fulfill the aspiration of the Tamil in the south, what about the aspiration of the Tamil people who are living in the south? Does that mean that he is not concerned about the aspiration of the Tamils living in the south, or he is fully convinced that their aspirations have been already met?
Moreover, the fresh face to the Parliament, Mohammad Musharraf, added that all parliamentarians should work towards democracy without working towards individual goals.
We live in a wonderful country, and I am a proud Sri Lankan who is privileged and humbled to represent the people of Ampara district in this 9th Parliament. I believe that as Sri Lankans, we should celebrate our democracy. We are privileged to have the opportunity to cast a vote in our nation's elections and to take part in our nation's debate. Our democracy is made stronger by the participation of more Sri Lankans in political conversation, and as a Member of Parliament, it will be my priority to engage with as many voters I can to ensure the voices of our quiet Sri Lankans in Ampara district are represented in this Parliament. Let us embrace and encourage our individualism and celebrate our diversity, but at all times remember our shared humanity. I have always believed it is honorable to serve my community and my country. I want to be the change I wish to see.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Cabinet spokesman Minister Keheliya Rambukwala today announced that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa assured that the 20th Amendment to the Constitution will be brought next week. Cabinet spokesman asserted that for the time being, 19th will be amended via a 20th Amendment and changing the whole Constitution will be considered in another level.
The position would be that we will bring the 20th Amendment and some other components of the 19th Amendment which are favorable and which are good for the society or to have the democratic process. We will retain some or rather bring in those as fresh ones to the 20th. We are just fulfilling the manifesto and the people are mandated to do so.
It takes some time. We don't know how long would it take. As you know, Mrs. Chandrika Kumartunga's government has been drafting a constitution for 6 years, and it was aborted in the end after the attempt of 6 long years. That was the case with the previous government as well. They have been formulating a constitution for 4.5 years. All of a sudden, they had to give it up. So it's a time-consuming task. You know, constitution is the basic legal document of the nation. So we have to be very thoughtful, careful in drafting that. It may take some time. So that's why, as we promised and as mandated by people, that's why we are bringing 20th Amendment to meet the urgent measures.
No, it is not a question of two-thirds. It is a question of giving a hearing to the public in terms of the conflict. But we haven't given anything saying that these are the contents of the new constitution. But we have certainly given the contents of the 19th Amendment and we have asked the public for a mandate and the people have mandated it. The total constitution is another part of it.
Cabinet of Ministers, which met yesterday, have also approved a proposal to introduce a simple yet an accountable and efficient tax methodology. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has highlighted that the system should be a tailor-made application for all the stakeholders in the society. Followed by a proposal submitted by the President, the approval of the Cabinet of Ministers was granted yesterday for the introduction of a simple yet accountable, efficient tax methodology so that it would be a tailor-made application for all the stakeholders in the economy, including commuters, workforce, entrepreneurs as well as taxpayers. Accordingly, National Building Tax, Economic Services Fees Act, Port and Aviation Development Tax Act and the Financial Act will be revised considering the modern requirements of the society. Revising those acts will be done on a proposal by the Minister of Finance. However, the drafts bills will be prepared by the legal draftsman in the Parliament and will be published in the Gazette before presenting those in the Parliament. Government has also taken precautionary measures to issue state finance and financial catalysts for all the stakeholders in the economy, including low-income holders, entrepreneurs, micro, small and medium-scale entrepreneurs. Further, government is also making efforts to minimize the negative impacts caused by the production activities as well as the employments due to COVID-19 pandemic. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka, having the intention of easing the financial crisis on the shoulder of the entrepreneurs, has taken steps to enhance the liquidity of the financial market. Further, Cabinet of Ministers has also approved proposals submitted to seek approval for directing the legal draftsman for the formulation of the drafts required for revising the Inland Revenue Act and Value-Added Tax Act. Minister of Tourism Prasanna Ranatunga states that Sri Lanka will ink a memorandum of understanding with India to develop the Palali airport in Jaffna and that the MOU is likely to be signed in 2 weeks with the cabinet approval. Accordingly, Sri Lanka will ink an MOU to develop the Palali airport in Jaffna with a sum of 300 million rupees. The funding will basically focus on the expansion of the passenger terminal at the Palali airport as well as the luggage inspection area. After the end of the conflict in 2009, the Palali airport was opened last year and was renamed as Jaffna International Airport. Minister Ranatunga with State Minister of Aviation and Export Zones Development D.V. Chanaka met Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Gopal Bagle and held discussions in this regard. The trio also had discussed on tourism promotion from India to Sri Lanka, and the High Commissioner said that Indian investors are keen to invest in Sri Lanka and this aspect too would be pursued. We'll be back with stock updates after this short break. Welcome back after the break. The trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped 2.34 points to close at 5,333.32 and the S&P SL 20 dropped 11.64 points to close at 2,353.27. The turnover was 2.2 billion rupees and over 50 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. That's all the news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care. Good night.